to bring it in. And we are quite a little bit ahead of, I don't know how we managed that and how we made this, so that's cool, that's wonderful. But what is on the next, let's say, part of on our journey is we will have a panel discussion. And I'm very happy having 3 great experts with me who are able to discuss the section, the intersphere of AI and blockchain technology. And for this, I really would like to welcome Mariana de la Roche, Nico Schönnagel, and of course, Hector Bulgarini. Please be so kind and join me here, because we need to use one mic. We need to use one microphone, so in this regard, flowers all to you, Mariana. That's we want to discuss more how blockchain and AI, how is this a match made in heaven? Yes or no? But before we start, I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience, because I think you can do this far better than I can do. Mariana.
Thank you, Katarina, for inviting me. And good morning, everyone. My name is Mariana Roche. I'm one of the directors of the Palliet Fund, which is a consultancy supporting organizations in the Web3 space based in Austria. And I'm also a member of the board at INATPA and also at TVT. Should I say something else? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, my background is in law, so I also come from that side, but I've been in the blockchain space since 2018 already. I started working in the intersection of the actual implementation of blockchain projects and a Layer 1 foundation here in Germany, so I was like overseeing all the different projects we had back then with the Horizon 2020 projects. We had a couple of projects also with the German government, the Canadians, the Japanese government, mostly looking at the infrastructure. And since a couple of years ago, I started to work also on all the regulatory parts, so supporting a lot of things in regards to the AML package and also like MiCAR back then. And this is how I started to look into AI, right? Because, and probably we will talk about that, but like for the detection of malicious transactions, like there's nothing better than AI, right? Like this is like faster, more efficient than like most of like the manual reviews that we were doing back then. So I started to look at this and also like at the ethical part, because I always forget to say this, but like my background was actually like in international law and human rights. So this is how I started my professional career, and my interest on the technology space is actually on technology for impact at the end. So I started to look like on the intersection of blockchain and ethics and the respect of human rights and international law. And that's what we have been working lately with INATPA since a year almost already. Like, yeah, like we have been like working almost like, the paper is like longer than that, but we were like working with some of like the professors in the academic advisory board, among them Katarina, on a paper in the intersection of blockchain and AI, looking at the challenges that blockchain has by itself and the challenges that AI has by itself, and how we can use them, both of them, to mitigate the risks that they by themselves generate. And we have been working on this paper. We have been also like advising or like providing feedback to the Commission when it comes to like the competition law connected to AI. I'm in a workshop later this morning in the Commission that comes after the AI Act, looking at like what are like the impacts in competition law. And I can go forever, but I'm just going to pass the microphone.
Okay, cool, thanks. Yeah, my name is Nico Schönnagel. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer of OEV. OEV is a company you probably don't know, doesn't matter. It's a daughter of all the public insurance companies in Germany. And so for the part of the Sparkassenfinanz Group, and Sparkassen, you probably know. So, yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I founded the department for the OEV. We call it Digital Campus. Now we will call it Innovation Hub. And with a focus, because, you know, public insurance companies are a little bit, I wouldn't say boring, but boring. And we wanted to focus a little bit more on innovations. So we have a great deal with research and development. We started with, I think, 4 or 5 people. Now we are 40, so in this 5 years, so yeah, big decrease and big increase. And we're also focusing on, of course, nowadays on LLM. but also we started with some projects in the blockchain. Actually, there was one project I started here at university because I'm also a lecturer at the University for Cloud Computing, and I think I saw him, Thomas, there he is, hey. In professional IT business, so I'm teaching cloud computing, and I learned student, and he was a little bit into blockchain. We started a project in a blockchain, and then he wrote a thesis in the blockchain. Katarina was the first supervisor of this thesis, and now this thesis came to a project, so now we have built an MVP out of it, and it's kind of a beneficial app for employees. So the goal is so maybe you all know this, so there are employees and they want to go to a conference or they want to buy some. So, hey, Nico, can I have the new iPhone? And I said, so yeah, but your last iPhone is just 1 year old, or something like this. I said, yeah, but I haven't gone to this other big data conference in Amsterdam, so maybe I can have the iPhone and another guy is going to the conference, whatever. And we thought, okay, let's do these things, let's do all these things a little bit more fair. And so we have this blockchain app. All our employees are getting and receiving tokens, and they can buy then events or gadgets, something like this. Yeah, that's one of our projects, and of course we're also dealing with LLM. And I found this presentation really interesting because we are doing, I wouldn't say the same, but something similar. So what we are doing is in one of our LLM projects, we have a compliance engine, or we're starting to build a compliance engine where you can put in source code, and then you can analyze the source code and see if it's compliant, is it GDPR conform, stuff like this. And so in preparation of this conference, I thought about, so maybe there could be a match. And we could use also blockchain for this. So I need to tell my team afterwards.
Well, very good. Thank you. I'm Hector Bulgarini. I'm very happy to be here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kyber Labs. We are basically a company aimed on the intersection of blockchain and AI. I will give a couple of details after. A little bit about my background. I'm from Argentina. I've been working, Latin America. I've been working in technology for 1 million years now. And in the last 5-6 years, I was very, very interested in disruptive technologies. So it was very interesting because my very first project working in AI was basically building a chatbot for, legal enterprises. So I have to say that it didn't work at all. It failed miserably, all right? But it was 6 years ago. And as I'm from Argentina, I don't know if you're aware, but the whole financial system there is broken very badly. Last year, we reached 300% of inflation, something like that. So yeah, naturally, I was pushed to work in blockchain because it was a really, really use case for normal people, right? To basically protect their funds, right? So as I have background in software technology, managing projects and so, I basically moved to working 100% to the blockchain industry. And thanks to that, I moved here to Berlin, working for a company called Parity Technologies, which I think is kind of well known. And last year, with all the boom of AI and ChatGPT and so on, I had this feeling like there has to be something, all right, that bring the two worlds together. And thanks to that, I basically, from Kyber Labs, we are founding a collaborative, a confidential AI network, which I hope I can share the name very soon. I make a little bit of attention there. But basically, in this network, what we try to do is bring all the model owners and allow them to deploy their models into a decentralized network of infrastructure providers, but having, being privacy first. So we are relying on a lot of cryptographic tooling in order to protect all the interactions and to make the confidential interactions between consumers or users and the models. And it's been very challenging, but very fun as well, because I feel like there is a super interesting match there, and we could add a lot of, value to both industries, actually.
I just have questions.
You have questions. Me too. So first, let me start with my questions, because I'm not sure if everyone here is aware of all the, let's say, tech speak which already was raised. And therefore, I first like to bring us all on the same page. So what is LLM? Would you please be so kind and explain this once again?
Yeah, sure. LLM is large language models. So, and it's kind of AI, and it's how we deal. So when it comes to, probably all of you knows ChatGPT. When it comes to ChatGPT, that's LLM. And there are different tools or different LLM models from different companies. It's also really interesting because most of these LLM models came from big companies like Facebook. You maybe heard of Llama, which is also an LLM model, and Jamie. So that's what LLM is. So the possibility to use natural language and do prompting. We heard prompting, I think, in this presentation. To use a natural language and to get out results, basically. Really basic. Yeah?
Thank you so much, because we often tend to talk in our own bubble, in our own language, and I prefer, because we have a really mixed audience here, and I prefer to get you all on the same side so that we are able to talk to each other, with each other. Beside this, we heard you are the experts, you are in this field, and how can we secure data while using blockchain and AI? Probably you can just give us a short overview how you think it could be done. And again, Mariana, I'd like to start with you, please.
I'm just gonna make like the disclaimer that I'm not a technical person, right? So I'm a lawyer. So like everything that like we have been doing so far with the research is theoretical, where we see like that the risk mostly are, and when you just like talk about this, here's like when all the like tricky questions start, right? Because like where is the data coming from, and like the data provenance? I think that that's one of like the most important things, because in the prompts, like the quality of the data will determine the quality of the output, right? And I think that like some of the things that we have right now is that we really don't have like good like data provenance systems like working alone in the AI space, although we do have them in blockchain, right? Like we have like projects like Demia, for example, that do this for like carbon monitoring at the end. But like all of these are like open source, and like the infrastructure is already there and can be replicated for other kind of like applications. So I think that this is one of the most interesting applications, like when it respects to the data provenance, to just like evaluate the quality of the data that we are using for the prompts. These systems also like were in interaction with like, I don't know, like Delbarium or Dell projects, and they give like ranking to the data according to how much trust you can put in the data, right? So if this is the kind of information that we're doing and we use this to actually like train the models, at the end we have like more certainty in how much we can trust the data that is put in there, but also like we can rank the hallucinations that are coming at the end if we just like try to replicate that. So I think that that's one of the most interesting systems, and also like with like blockchain and just like getting more like into like the interaction between both of them is like the decentralized part. I think that is going to be like really, really interested, because one of the main issues that we have like is biases, right? Like, and I think that like having decentralized and diverse kind of like data sets will like prevent us, or like at least like as much as possible to mitigate that risk. And that's something that we can also like do by having like different data sets and like the ranking system that I'm discussing right now with like the blockchain infrastructure.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, security of the data. So yeah, that's actually a big deal, how to deal with it, even in AI and also in the blockchain. So when it comes to decentralization, so I mean, you can rely on this data, and the data are tamper-proofed, stuff like this. But when it comes to GDPR, so probably a lot of you knows of this, and it's getting a problem if it's decentralized. So we have always an issue with this. So where are the servers? So I mean, where are the servers in a decentralized system? So I don't know. And so that's definitely an issue, or something we need to deal with it. On the other hand side, when it comes to AI on top of the blockchain, and when it comes to structured data, not like just content, where a blogger, I don't know, blogger Frank was writing something on Reddit, and we use it for an LLM. So because so that's not really serious when our LLM is trained based on Reddit posts. I mean, we can use them, and maybe we can predict some financial causes because people are in the crowd, you know. But when it comes, for example, to medical data, let's see, we have heart pressure and all these things, and medical plans, whatever. Then maybe it's a better idea to have this in a blockchain, tamper-proofed, reliable, and set up our AI on top of this, and it really makes sense. Could be, yeah, you can.
On my end, I can add a little bit of more technical information to it, because it's something like we are working on the project and we are researching pretty much in depth. So I think the answer is encryption. All right. So basically, how will you make to share information without disclosing it, right? Because that's the key thing. You have like a hospital, a financial institution. Of course, doing a disclaimer, from the legal and regulation perspective, there might be some gray areas where encryption is not enough, right? But yeah, let's keep a perfect world when we are all agree and we all understand like encryption is a valid way. So there is something called full homomorphic encryption, all right, which is like an encryption method that allows to make computation, you know, processes without decrypting the information, okay? And this is a key enabler for the industry, in my opinion. Because let's think like I have a data set, right, with medical records, and I can basically provide my data records without like decrypting the information. So I can, you know, go and basically provide my data sets to data scientists to train their models, but in any part of the process, the information is disclosed. I mean, this is huge, right? Because this could basically enable a lot of opportunities. And what I think like blockchain is very good on this, because what I'm saying is encryption, right? Encryption is not blockchain 100%, and that's that's, in my opinion, very important to understand the differences. Blockchain is a consensus system which is very good, in my opinion, on first, register ownership, and second, right, to make the incentives around for different parties to share or to collaborate, right, to one mission or one thing. So, in my opinion, there has to be like this super, you know, interesting with a lot of potential market of data sets, of private data sets, like basically can be shared, right, to different model owners, as we call it in our project, okay, to train their models without disclosing the information. This could be a huge enabler for the industry. I was reading like last week that there are certain gossips, like these super huge LLMs, as for example, ChatGPT, are very close to consume all the public data of internet. So now the next phase, in my opinion, of AI is basically start training the models which much more accurate data, which is the private data, private that cannot be disclosed, because of course, you know, it's from the ethic perspective, it's not right to just provide, I know, my medical records, right? But if we could do that without disclosing the information, that's the next stage of in my opinion, development of AI, right? And blockchain, yes. Blockchain is very good on that.
You just open like for like rabbit holes there. Like, boom. Yes and no, because I think that like one of the issues is like not only encryption, like you mentioned it, right, GDPR, but GDPR actually this year is going to be reviewed, right? Because like technically, there's like certain issues that won't work. Like for example, considering like a hash that can be attached to your private information, that will never just like work with blockchain, or the right to be forgotten, for example. So all of those things are going to be reviewed this year at the European institution. So hopefully they understand better how blockchain works and they open that. When it comes to medical records, I think that this is one of the most interesting, because it's not only the fact that like the information is encrypted, it's like basically that's my information, right? And I think that here more than anything, what blockchain allows us is to just like create incentive like systems and new business models to share that data. Because right now, AI has been like focusing on e-commerce. And this is like, well, let's put aside like the warfare applications that we have seen in Israel for 1 second, but like focus on like the majority of the use cases have been like e-commerce, right? And basically they're mining you because they're collecting data about like every single interaction that you have, but you don't get absolutely anything. You get what? An advertising on your Instagram. That's all you are getting, and they're profiting for that. But if we started to connect like actually like that's my data and we create like IP rights connected to the data that I'm producing, and then you create incentives to actually like incentivize the fact that you want to share that data, then my medical data that is collected is mine, not like on the Krankenkasse or like the hospital, which I never see. Like, I don't know what they have there, right? Like, they just tell me like, you're okay, but like, I have never seen the test, right? That information is mine. I can just like get an incentive for sharing that information for research. Or I saw in the Berlin Blockchain Week a really interesting startup working on actually me providing that data, like everyone providing the data that they use the app for them to receive like suggestions for their own health. It's like, if you have like this kind of disease, this is the kind of like nutrition that you should have. Like, this is the kind of treatments that you have like over in your insurance plan and all of this. And this is actually like a really good incentive. I will give that information for free if I know that I'm getting something back. And all of this can be done also like with blockchain. If I wanted to keep it privacy, they can get it, but like it never attached to me, right? Like, I think that Adri is here, so talk to Adri, because like they did a lot of like data collection in the Netherlands about like the behavior of people, but because of the way in how was the information collected, the municipalities got the information that they wanted and that they needed for like public policy, but they never attached that to the individual. And I think that this is, when it comes to privacy, this is what I care. Like, the fact that they disclose the data and know it, they need to know the data, because like there are training systems, especially in the health sector, that are going to be like borderline unethical if they are doing wrong, right? Like, unethical, basically. So this is really important that they have the information that it is, and then the information is disclosed, right? But like, what is important is that that information don't lead back to me, because I don't want then like everyone knocking on my door like, hey, we just heard that you have this, and then I will have like a magic solution, right? So I think that this is like where it is starting to become interesting, and I'm really curious to see like, and this is also like coming like to competition, like all the new business models that are going to be born out of this mix of blockchain and AI when it comes to like the data economy.
Yeah, one little thing. Sorry, we're taking over. Yeah, thank you. It's super valid. This is why I say all the gray areas from, regulation and so. We are also in parallel reviewing all this AI Act and so, which is not like 100% like just with encryption you solve everything. Of course, there are a lot of legal implications there. But what you say is exactly our thesis in our project, like blockchain for enabling, new businesses, right, or new opportunities. I think like that is like my conclusion after like months and months of researching, because the narrative from blockchain was to basically, turn down all the big institutions, and become like a more fair landscape or environment for everyone. And I think like narrative, I don't want to say got old, but yeah, it's always going to, keep blockchain in the niche. And exactly that is the thesis like we were working on. How we use blockchain with AI, or what is the contributions we can do from the blockchain industry into AI industry. And the conclusion is enable new opportunities. Like, for example, this with all the private information, incentives around you providing the data. And I think that was a super interesting concept, because it's something we were like thinking a lot, why we are using blockchain on an AI project. And it's exactly that, for basically enabling new opportunities and business.
Thank you so much. And that brings me to the question, do we need a new consensus mechanism in blockchain when we work together with AI? Is there something what you think is needed? Nico?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, probably yes. I think it can contribute. I think with AI, so our experience with the blockchain, I don't know if it's the same with you, is that sometimes the transactions are really slow. So when we have we started our app, and I think we are a little bit sorry for the team. I think we over-engineered a little bit, so we did really everything in the blockchain. And also the role and access management and stuff like this, and it's getting a little bit slow. And what I can imagine is with AI that we can, that we are fastening the transactions. For example, let's say when we have something like when we identifying a pattern, like fraud, double spending, whatever it is, that we have an AI algorithm which checks the transactions and everything which is not an anomaly going first. So we are fasten the transactions, and afterwards all what could be something like fraud, whatever, is going last in the queue. So I think that could be a contribution.
So if we talk about consensus of a blockchain, I have like maybe a different opinion. I think in the midterm there are a lot of possibilities, like AI could bring like much powerful consensus, but in the short term, I believe like it's very risky to do that, because a consensus is a set of rules very well known and established, right? And as soon as it gets a little bit harder or a little bit more complex, it gets super hard to basically, predict how that consensus is going to work. One of the hot topics in AI is basically explainability, right? Why model react in this way, okay? Or why the model took this decision. And for me, for a consensus, that's just a no-go. Because at the point of where we are right now, I wouldn't put like these super sensitive decisions as, for example, slashing a bad actor. Slashing is where you penalize a bad actor in the consensus, right? I wouldn't leave that to the level of AI we have today, but I think that there is an opportunity in the short term to maybe have AI some part, which could, like, for example, raise red alerts, saying, okay, this actor might be working, not in the way it is expected, so that reports this to a consensus model as we know it now, which is basically developed by humans and developers, and they have the capability to debug it in case there are errors. But definitely, yes, in the midterm, I suspect like there could be some consensus based on AI, rather than, being honest, it's kind of hard to see it, like how that would going to work because of what I explained before. But yeah, definitely it could be a chance where in the future we see consensus much more optimized, more performance because of AI.
I agree. Like basically, I agree with you. I think that just like for like pattern recognition, like this is like awesome. Like also like for like solving the blocks faster. That's something that can be looked. But like I don't think that we are at the point where we can deploy it without supervision.
So, Hector, you said that AI probably, or that blockchain is kind of a niche industry still, somehow. I even don't understand why it is as this, but how can AI enable blockchain to get out of that niche, to come into the mass market? Do you see any opportunities? Or, Nico, I see you somehow started.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not quite sure if it's directly the answer, but what I think is, with AI, you are able to, as a developer, you are able to be faster in your development terms. So, and that means, let me create an example. So when we have a project and we decide on, we have a use case, and then we're deciding on the infrastructure and on the tech stack and stuff like this. And when we later on look at the tech stack, and I ask the team, so why you decided for using the MongoDB, why you're using for using AWS as a provider, it's always, or most of the time, it's because I know it, And maybe the blockchain could be a good solution because we say, okay, we want to store data decentralized, stuff like this, but it's really hard to come into the blockchain when you're a Java developer and you're used to RDS databases, MySQL, whatever. But nowadays, when I'm able to say, to go to Copilot and say, okay, what's the best tool? Or I go to ChatGPT, I ask what would be the best opportunity, and say, okay, go to the blockchain because you want work in a collaboration with a lot of companies. Data could be decentralized, so it really makes sense. And I'm using Copilot to develop, and I'm able to use totally different technologies. And I think that could be a case which, yeah.
I think that that's the impact of AI in general in any industry, right? It's just like, especially if ChatGPT just like make like questions, like simple things like faster, right? But I think that actually, and this is like something that we have like with the EU manifesto that we have with like the different association, and is that like, we need to stop like seeing the different technologies in isolation, right? Like we have AI, we have virtual reality, we have robotics, we have blockchain, and we just like keep talking about them of they were like silos. And we just like need to start like looking holistically, right? And for that, like blockchain is kind of like the underlying infrastructure where like all of them are going to be built, whether it's for like developing like new business models, whether it's for like data security, whether it's like data provenance, like all of this is something that blockchain can provide, but not the others. And I think that one of the most interesting cases when we look at AI, well, at least for me, but like I'm completely biased here, of course, is everything that comes to accountability from one side, and the other one is also like the ownership of the data. Because AI relies on data to be trained, right? Like this is like, there's absolutely no discussion here on that one. And we have like the issues already that we saw, like for example in Italy, where they sued like ChatGPT because they were like taking data out of the internet without respects of intellectual property rights. But like now we are also exploring with like blockchain on everything that is like IP tokenization, right? Like the IP rights tokenization, and how we can actually like start to just like give ownership in the data and ownership on like data that we are producing and it's used by AI, and then creating incentives there. So I think that this is really interesting right now what is happening in that area, and this is something that like it could not be done without blockchain. And this is where we are actually showing that there is a kind of like sine qua non use case in which there's no other way, right? And this is like massive for both technologies, because the thing is like blockchain is so complex that like people don't know how to use it, or like they don't even know for what it's useful, right? Like if you talk to like the day-to-day Miguel, they will tell you like Bitcoin, and like it's like just go to the speculation and financial system and everything, right? But now we have like actually like use cases that we can create with like blockchain where we are going to show the value. And I just wanted to see where like the point comes in like that the user-friendly is like so easy that like people don't even know that they're using blockchain while they're still using it, right? Like it is one of those apps that I love because of that. Like it's like gaming. Like you're just like answering some questions. You have no idea that what is like behind that and protecting your data, and that they will find that the data is used is blockchain, and they don't need to, right? Like it depending of like whom is the target, they need like certain levels of information, and the user, at the end, they don't care about like the consensus mechanism. What they care is that they can use it, it's safe and it's cheaper, which is something that we are still like struggling to get there. But I think that all of these new use cases and new business models are allowing the opportunity for blockchain to prove what is the actual value. I think Hedy is here also. Yes, you're here already. Like when you see like about like the pattern recognitions and everything that is going to be for like crypto analytics, AI is also like massive. So this is also like one of those use cases where AI is not only e-commerce, AI is not just a chatbot that is going to answer some questions that might be or not right, but that actually is like helping blockchain to be even safer. That one of like the main critiques about like money laundering, financial of terrorism, like what like for example like Crystal is doing, and now with the support of AI is like more sufficient, and it actually helps us to bring the case to the regulators as well, that like it is not just this, there's actual value in the technology.
Just one sentence to add. I think you said something really, what was really right. It's not about the technology, it's about the user. So, and actually it doesn't matter whether it's a blockchain underneath or it's not. And I think, so some years ago it was always so, we have this cool application and it's based on the blockchain, but it really doesn't matter. And same with AI, it really doesn't matter. So as a user, you want to have experience in your application, in your program, in whatever it's helpful. And if it's the blockchain, it's fine, but from the user perspective, it doesn't matter. And yeah, just want to add this.
I think everything was said about this topic, and I cannot agree more. I see a trend in the blockchain industry and people trying to achieve what they have said. Like, blockchain is a component in the backend in the architecture of the applications, right? I mean, I think like one of the errors we did and I include myself in the industry and the blockchain industry was to always put blockchain and its ideals, right, on top of the users. And for example, we said, we justify ourselves saying, yes, we know the UX or the usability for this application is harder, but there is a reason for that, because it's decentralized and because it's more fair. And sometimes the user, is on a 9-to-5 job, and the only thing he wants to do is go back home and play with their kids, right? It's not interested in all the ethics and all the things happening behind blockchain. So yeah, definitely I see a major shift right now on the blockchain, trying to play more like a companion, role. And in the case of AI, on the way we are thinking blockchain in the project we are working on is as part of the backend. Actually, going very much in the edge, I could remove blockchain from the project and still the project would be alive, right? This is the kind of mentality we are trying to develop in the project.
Just a small, because you keep giving me things, so just jump in there. I like it. You mentioned something that is really important, also because you're from Argentina. I'm just gonna start with that example, right? But at the end, I think that one of the things that blockchain started with this idea of disruption, right? The financial system and financial, trying to just unbank the unbankers, right? The bank the unbankers, right? All of this. And I think that at some point of the road, we got lost. And then we started to just see meme coins and these other things that don't make me start don't work for absolutely anything, right? And we completely forgot that the reasons behind the technology was actually to just create some change in a system that was completely broken. Stable coins for Argentina, they're massive, right? I think that this is one of I'm Colombian, I agree with you. We cannot compete at the international market because we have devaluated currencies, right? And they try to keep it like that. I don't know if you saw the Oscar recommendations where they were we shouldn't bring stable coins to the global south. And they're yeah, but Europe already regulated. So what is why is this? This is not fair, because actually the people that is benefit the more with stable coins is those that have currencies that are not strong fiat currencies, right? Because that allow you to just enter into the international market. Also, I think also is working on a project also in East Africa where there's a lot of different blockchain interactions to avoid corruption, so goods can just cross faster. And this is actually the kind of, and that also makes them compete in the international market. So these are kind of the projects and the applications of the technology that I personally would like to see, and I'm interested. I don't care about the shit coins just being trade or whatever, just up to 25%. That's sad. That's really sad, because those funds are going to just projects that don't do anything for anyone, instead of just going to projects that are doing circular economy to just reforestation of the Amazonas, or actually bringing developing economies into the game, right? Or for example, I already mentioned it, but all the use of AI that we have seen in Israel against Palestine, this is the worst of the worst examples that we are having right now in our societies. And it seems that no one is actually paying attention to the impact that this creates if it just goes in the wrong direction, right? So I think that there's every time that we are in panels or every time that we are doing development or something, we just need to think in the user, but understanding what is going to be the impact of the technology in actual life. Are we pushing forward for more equitable societies, for more sustainable societies, or we are just playing gamble with some coins? Because for that, I don't really care, right?
Thank you so much. That was a conversation. It was not needed, so thank you so much for that conversation between your experts. There's one thing I really would like to say in regard, it doesn't matter for the customer, for the one who is sitting in front of their app, that it doesn't matter whether this is a blockchain solution, yes or no. But as Mariana, you also mentioned, if I am able to get a reward, if I get something out of that, I'm forwarding my data, that I share my data in a very good way so that no one can trace it back to me, and I still can get a reward. So these are things I think we really can bring in new quality in the way how we do business and in the way how a user can be rewarded. That's one thing what I got out of the conversation. Second, what I got out of the conversation is that we have needs for more democracy in all systems, not only in the system of IT, but also in society, so that we can go into better democratic systems, which allows us to engage more people. And I think that is also very important, what we should take into consideration. And last but not least, what I got out of this conversation was that we're still thinking in silos. We're still like, that is AI, that is blockchain, and we are not really connected with each other. We should be connected, and probably this conference is one of the first steps where we get connected to each other, with each other, that we can talk to each other, which I think is of utmost importance. You inspired me a lot. I hope all of you are inspired. And with this, I would like to say thank you so much to you that you shared your thoughts, your ideas, and let's look whether we can all have now a first coffee break to start to discuss with each other. Thank you so much.